you propose.
Can you guys move back a bit, please?
Either you have a brute fact, or you have a necessary existence. All right. Now, what I would say to you is fine. If you agree with me that you can have a brute fact, or you can have a necessary existence, that's all we need from you. Thank you very much. The conversation is over, because you know what? Yes.
Go on. You just let me hear.
I'm happy. You agree with that's possible, yes?
Go on. Just carry on.
Okay. The reason why the conversation is over is because when you say there's a brute fact and that all of existence is explained through that brute fact could never, listen very carefully, very important, this is my expansion now.
Yeah.
This is my expansion. I will say to you, look, the brute fact and or, for the sake of argument, let's say, the brute fact, all the necessary existence. Either of those things, number one, can never fail to exist. Very important. You agree?
No.
Okay, now you're gonna go against every philosopher in the world. If you disagree with this, all you're gonna do, no, hold on. A brute fact by definition, or necessary existence by definition, can never fail to exist.
I do.
Okay, give me your proof. Because let me explain.
Well, you have to prove.
Okay, fine. Because definitions are important, paramount here.
Okay.
A necessary existence is something which can never be otherwise. Can never be otherwise.
Necessary thing.
Yeah.
Can never be otherwise.
So in other words,
I agree with
the opposite. The opposite of a necessary existence is a contingent existence.
Yeah.
So a contingent thing is something which is dependent, whereas a necessary thing which is something which is independent.
Agree.
Which means if it's independent, it doesn't require anything else for it to be.
Okay.
So, okay, it's always been there, it doesn't require anything else for it to be, and it's the explanation for everything else that is in existence. That's what we call God.
No, that isn't what it is.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't. No,
Yes,
that's
it is,
not
yes.
true.
Is there
Okay,
any-
let me respond
yes.
to that.
Please.
Let me respond to that. Okay.
Please.
Okay, so first off, it's completely false to just say that God is something that's necessarily existence and that's God. Because some people have argued that the laws of physics necessarily exist, and that is all you need to refer to explain the universe.
Okay.
Now, there's nothing else. It's just the laws of physics and things, that are described by them.
Do you believe that laws of physics
Right,
actually
hang on.
exist?
Some people do. Some
Do you
people
believe
do.
that?
I'm interested about it. I mean, it depends what you mean by exist.
Are they physical? Are they something you can put under a
Well, you
microscope?
can't touch a law of physics, but
Fine.
they could have an ontological status. That
Do
is-
they have a cosmological status?
What do you mean by have a cosmological
Can they
status?
be put under a microscope?
You can certainly examine the laws of physics, but you can't put them under a
Fine,
microscope.
so they don't exist.
You can't say something doesn't exist because you can't put it under a microscope. I can't put dark matter under a
I'm
microscope,
asking
but that
you,
doesn't
I'm
mean it
asking-
doesn't exist.
I'm asking you.
Well, my answer is you can't infer something that doesn't exist because you can't put it under a microscope.
Okay, fine.
That
So-
isn't the definition
No,
of
I
how
wouldn't-
we define
wouldn't
things.
disagree. I wouldn't
Let me
disagree.
just
I wouldn't disagree. Go ahead.
so it could be. No, generally people understand God to be a person, right? Who is free will, and it also generally seems to have other properties such as omnipotence, omniscience, omnibenevolence, justice, things like that.
Yes.
So it's just not true at all to say that if there is something necessary, that's God.
Okay, can I counteract it?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. I agree with you.
Okay, good.
In the sense that I'm not saying to you that is a necessary being is an exhaustive description of what God is. But it is a basic description of what God is according to the narrative of Islam. And I'll give you the evidence, the textual evidence for that. So for us, the most foundational chapter of the Quran is Surah Al-Ikhlas, chapter 112, that describes who God is. And this is how he describes it. Okay, or this is how he's described.
So do you have the...
But just concentrate with me, please. No.
I just want to check your...
Come on.
Right, okay, sorry, right, so what's the verse?
Chapter 112.
Do you want to find it?
Yep.
Okay, let's okay, go ahead.
Can you read it out for me, please? Since you've troubled me enough to.
Okay.
This one. Yeah.
Okay. In the name of God, merciful of all, compassionate to each, say, He is God, unique, God, Lord supreme. Nothing begotten nor begotten, and none can be His peer. Okay. It doesn't say anything about necessity there, as far as I can see. It just says He is not begotten, right?
Okay, fine.
Yeah, but that's not the same as necessary.
No, hold on.
That isn't the same thing.
Philip, now you're going to come into theology, and it's not going to be. Let me explain what the Quran says. Yeah.
Well, we've just read it together.
No. Don't worry. You've read the English translation according to who?
Has Phil finished this point though?
Tariq Khalid.
Khalid.
Well, okay. So to finish my point,
Yeah. He has finished his point.
well, let me just.
You've just given him a.
Well, my point is that necessary. You know, if God is necessary, it doesn't follow that a necessary thing is God. Just like God is a person, but that doesn't mean a person is just because we've established that people exist, we've established God exists, right? We think that God has free will, but it doesn't follow that if we find a person with free will, that therefore God exists. So you can't just name a quality that you think God has, and then say, we've established God. I mean, you were like, the debate is over, we've established necessity.
Can I explain? Okay, thank you very much. We agree, we're at this point in this stage where we agree that you can have a brute fact and you can have a necessary existence, and that necessary existence of that brute fact by definition has to be eternal, which means it cannot ever be out of existence, because if it's out of existence then it's contingent. It has to be independent, which means that it's not dependent on anything else in order for it to exist. It's one thing because it's a brute fact or a necessary existence, and also we said before in that sense it's eternal, right? So it's always there. This is our basic. I'm telling you what we're saying. Qul huwallahu ahad. Say He is God one and only. He's one. Allahu samad, the one which everything depends upon, and He depends upon nothing. Lam yalid wa lam yulad. He's not begotten, or he doesn't beget, nor is He begotten. Meaning He's not the child of anyone, nor is He. Yeah. And another part of the Quran it says wal awwal wal akhir, which means that He's the first and the last. Meaning He's pre-eternal and post-eternal. وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ, meaning that there's nothing like He's unique. Now, if you look at this is our basic understanding of God. We're not saying it's an exhaustive understanding of the description of God. But if you understand this, and I think you have, and you've acknowledged it, Phil, okay? We've acknowledged now that you can actually, it's the only way of reasonably explaining why why existence exists. Because there has to be, because of the existence of a brute fact, which is eternal and independent, and with all those qualities that we've talked about, and explains everything else in creation, and if you want to call it a necessary existence. So what I'm saying is that this is all we need to get someone away from atheism. I'm not saying, and here's what I'm saying very clearly, I agree with you, Phil, that I'm not arguing for the logical possibility, of proving God's mercy, or proving God's love, or the fact that He's personal. I agree with you, Phil, that you cannot do that from first principles.
Okay, good.
So, but what I'm saying, but very important, I agree with that, I've always said this, it's consistent. But what I'm saying is, at what point, it's a question, at what point do we move away from atheism and move to a deism, the like of which Albert Einstein believes? At the point,
was not a deist. He was a pantheist.
It's
not the same thing.
Look, listen. A pantheist believes in the existence. Well, it's not contradictory. You can be a pantheist deist. You can be.
But they're not the same.
I'm not saying that no one said that they're the same thing, but I'm saying that he was a deist in the sense that he believed in impersonal gods. Now, the thing is, I'm not trying to convince you of theism. I'm just trying to show you that atheism is impossible. Do you understand this point? Now, the secondary thing, if I were to have a different discussion with you now, and those other qualities of God, those other ones, mercy and love, etc., I will tell you candidly, that we affirm them because of the logical, what we would say, the evidentiary veracity of the Quranic discourse. So ipso facto, because the Quran says it, we believe in it. But because we've had to come to the belief that the Quran is the divine inspired word of God through other arguments, which are not strictly from first principles, logical arguments, we have been convinced of that as well. But the idea that atheism, because atheism is a postulation that you don't agree with deism. Atheism and deism are not contradictory. Atheism and deism are contradictory belief systems. What I'm saying is, atheism, the idea that we're here not as a result of some deity or something which explains everything else in existence. That's an impossible belief system.
That's not what atheism. Okay, all right.
Go ahead, please, sir.
Okay. So that isn't what atheism asserts. So first off, we haven't established that necessary things exist. We have not established that. That's just an assertion. It could be there are no such things as necessary anything. Okay? We haven't asserted that. Now, let's suppose we have established that there is something that's necessary. It could just be that the universe is necessary. And that does not conflict with atheism. Atheism is not the assertion that there's no necessary things. That's not what atheism says. It says that there's no God, and when we, of course, we define what we mean by God. Okay, if you define God as the laws of physics, as Einstein did, well, that's not a personal
I don't
thing.
think Einstein I don't think
he did. He very specifically said that he didn't believe in a personal God. Now you said he was a deist, and you were just making it. Now deism is not the assertion about whether God is personal or not. God can be personal. No, deism is the assertion that God does not intervene in the world. Okay, once the God creates the world, he doesn't intervene. He doesn't listen to prayers. He doesn't do miracles.
According to what definition?
Look up any definition of deism.
Can we do that? Can someone get me a definition of deism, please? No, before he makes it, let's just not waste time with it. Can someone write deist in a dictionary?
Okay, better to look at it in a philosophical.
Because he's going to be dogmatic about it if we don't give him the evidence.
Deism, go fine, look it up. Right, deism, as I understand it, is the assertion that the creator of the universe does not intervene in the universe.
Okay, well, let's see if that's right.
So, could be personal, may or may not be personal. I think it could be personal, and you could still be a deist.
See if your definition
and in fact, most of the idea of deism was popular in the 18th century.
Has everyone got it?
Yeah. Go on. Why don't you go on Wikipedia?
No, get it from Oxford or something, or Oxford or Cambridge dictionary.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, the point is, the important point is that if we accept that there are necessary things. It could be that the laws of physics are necessary, that the universe exists necessarily, and therefore that does not conflict with atheism, and it offers no support to theism at all, because theism is the assertion generally, I think most, certainly the main Abrahamic faith, claim that God is not just a necessary being, but he's a personal being, a being with free will, and a being that has omni-properties, such as omniscience, omnipresence, and so on. And none of that is established by saying that there's a necessary being, which we haven't even established.
Okay, well, hold on. Let's just get a definition of deism first of all.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
And also, you said from Oxford, right? Yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, then we can do closing statements. Yeah.
You get the Oxford guy.
Okay, let's look up deism. Okay.
By Oxford or something.
Yeah, fine.
Or Cambridge, like one of the main
Fine.
But it was a learner's dictionary. I wanted the normal one.
I mean, I think it's better to go to a philosophical discussion.
Yeah, or even that.
Because dictionaries, they're just,
Fine.
Here we go. Right. Oxford Learner Dean.
No,
deism.
not learner.
Deism.
Don't get a learner's one. Don't get a normal one.
Okay. Well, this is the first thing that pops up. Let's
No. Get a normal dictionary.
Belief in God, especially a God that created the universe but does not take part in it.
Fine, that means impersonal.
Which is, it doesn't mean impersonal. You could be I could be a person and not take part in your life.
Fine.
It doesn't mean it's impersonal.
No problem. Are you finished? Are you done?
Now you wanted the OED.
Are you happy with that?
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Good.
Yeah.
Right, so fine.
Yeah.
So, if you're saying intervene, what do you mean by intervene? Just so I can
It doesn't do miracles, doesn't listen to prayers.
No problem.
That's generally what we
No
understand.
problem. So the base, you agree that deism and atheism are two different things.
They're different, yeah, of course.
You can't be a deist atheist.
No.
And you can't be an atheist deist.
No.
Okay,
But
so-
I would say that atheists and deists will live their lives in the same way.
No,
because both of them
that's-
believe
that's
they
it.
have things in common, which is that there's no God listening to
but
prayers,
I'm not asking-
no God's telling you how to
No, but
live.
Philip,
so what's
that's
really
not the question.
practical? No, but it's the most important
Yeah,
question.
yeah.
Because why do we care about whether religion is true or not?
Yeah,
because
okay.
it affects how we live our lives. Now, deism and atheism,
Yeah.
they're both going to live their lives the same.
Agreed.
So they
No,
have a
hold
lot
on.
in common in
It
some
might not be the
sense.
case. You can't really make a sociological case. We're talking about, look,
Well, I'm talking
on
about
a
things that are
philosophical... Philip, please. Deism and atheism are two different things. Deists would say that something allowed the universe to exist where it didn't exist. Whereas an atheist might not say this, right? There's a difference in that. Now, this thing we call God, a deist will say God exists, okay? This is fundamental. A deist's understanding of God could be the universe. You said the universe has necessary existence. A deist would...
I didn't say it had an essence, I said
It could be.